And welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
I'm Pastor Pleck, along with Jordan Smith. We're going to be talking Luke chapter 10, and we're going to outline it. We're going to find some observations. We're going to make some interpretations, and finally, we're going to lay down what we might apply today using the acronym SPEC, which is sin to avoid, promise to claim, example to follow, command to obey, knowledge to believe. All right, let's look at Luke chapter 10. We start out in verses 1 through 12. Jesus sends out the 72. Last chapter was sending out the 12. Now he sends the 72, and they rely on hospitality without excess baggage, shaking the dust off their feet from unwelcoming towns. Then, after all that, we have the woe of unrepentant cities. Jesus pronounces judgment on Chorazin, Bethsaida, and Capernaum for rejecting his miracles, saying it's worse than Sodom and Tyre. All right, how about, then we move to verses 17 to 24, the 72 return, and they are just so fired up that even demons were cast out in his name, and Jesus was like, hey, check it out. Don't rejoice for that, but your name is written in heaven. And then verses 25 through 37, the parable of the Good Samaritan. A lawyer tests Jesus and then really wants to know, who is his neighbor? Do I really have to love everybody? And Jesus lets him know how he can go and do likewise. And then finally, in verses 38 through 42, the classic story of Mary and Martha, who is anxious and she's working and she's fired up at her sister for not helping. And she goes to Jesus to arbitrate, and he's like, you're missing the whole point. All right, so let's get into some observations. Jordan, what did you see in this text?
Many things. The first thought I had was when it says he chose 72, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking of like, in the school when you're getting picked for the basketball team or whatever, he's just kind of pointing out like, all right, I'll take you, the rest of you, sorry about that. Sucks to suck.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Why was it limited to 72?
Well, I'm just trying to imagine myself as in that crowd.
As a 73rd guy?
Yeah, or something like that. I mean, I personally remembered not getting picked until last.
Man. Yeah. I bet you it was the 72 who were there. Might have been the only ones who wanted to be picked. So it kind of worked out that way too. So
it's a positive interpretation.
I do appreciate that observation though. All right.
Well,
what else? I like that. What else you got?
When it's talking about the laborers or few, I'm curious, is that evangelism specifically, or could it also be like Christians going out and loving and serving people?
Well, this is specifically an evangelism verse. They're looking for more workers. So you're not going to find more workers from the Christians you already have. That's not like hey, go round up the Christians. We already have them and sitting on their butt doing nothing, get them to go work. That's, hey, let's go and reach people who are far from God. Because the assumption is that if you're a Christian, you're going to be sharing the hope. It's like one and the same. Now, granted, somehow in our day and age, we sort of separated the Christian life from the Christian, but in this initial space, they're like, listen, the laborers, if once you become a Christian, you are now a laborer. You've been comforted in your soul to then go deny yourself and follow Jesus. And so that's kind of like this real sense of like, we need more laborers because there's a bunch of people that need to be saved, and we need to go send people to work the harvest.
Yeah. I thought it was cool when they returned. It specifically says they returned with joy.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think whenever you go do the Lord's work, even if you get rejected, this is what's wild about it. I mean, like the best stories are the ones where you're like, and then we told him about Jesus and he said, get away from me. Like it's not like you're not like, yay, but it's like you got to be in on whatever the Lord is doing. And then they got to see real miracles happen. Anytime you get to see a real miracle happen, you're like fired up. And that's exciting. And then also coming back, because they went 2 by 2. And so there's, 36 different groups. They all come back and they all had similar experiences. What is really wild about the Christian life is that there are so many people that are living alongside you that you don't even know are having the same struggles, same things, which is why it's so important to get together and talk about what the Lord has been doing.
Mm-hmm. That's good. When he's talking about the story with the lawyer and about just the different people ignoring the guy on the side of the road, I'm curious, does Samaritan in that example mean like, because they were a lower class, right?
A Samaritan's not necessarily a lower class. It's more of like they were not, it's like a different country. Like those are the people on the other side of the tracks, not lower class necessarily, but like they consider them less than them because they were syncretists, which meant that they believed in Yahweh, but they also believed in all the other gods, kind of the pantheon of gods. And so they were worshiping they were on everybody's team.
Okay. Because that's how, like Samaritan meant like us as Christians and being the marginalized group, something like that. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah. I mean, those are the people that you don't want to go talk to. As a Jew, you wouldn't be caught dead with a Samaritan because they are, in your eyes, less than you, although to the Romans, they're all the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what does it mean to you that Jesus chose the Samaritan to be the one to actually serve and love that guy?
Yeah, he's making the point, like the one, like they were like, who is my neighbor? The question was, who is my neighbor? And the guy was trying to justify himself. Like, in other words, hey, I love God, but he wanted to be neighborly to those who are neighborly to him. And what Jesus is saying, go be the one who's neighborly to the person that he would normally intentionally marginalize.
Gotcha.
So the normal reaction of the Samaritans from Luke 9 was to reject Jesus, kick him out. In fact, they wanted them to go all the way around their village. They wouldn't even let them go into town. They're like, oh, Jews? We don't do Jews. They were the original anti-Semites. Like they would have been thrilled with Nazis. They're like, yeah, kick them out. And so they make him go around. And then Jesus uses that guy as the one that's compassionate towards a Jewish person. It's blowing everybody's, preconceived ideas of what a person is like. He says, like, go and be like that Samaritan. Go and be a person that doesn't look at cultural distinctions as the thing that makes you a part of me. Look at other people as human beings and go and love and serve them.
Yeah. The last observation I had written down was when Martha's serving and just Jesus shutting her down because she had a wrong heart behind it.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah. And I appreciate that Jesus does shut her down because he could easily say, Mary, you have been slacking recently. Martha is doing all the work, but he's emphasizing the better thing is sitting and listening to Jesus. Jesus doesn't need anyone to cook for him. He can make meals appear out of nowhere. And I think what happens is if you are motivated to serve Jesus and then you get angry at those who are sitting and listening, you've missed the whole point. You are serving so that people can listen. And then all of a sudden you want to take everybody away from listening so they can do more serving, then no one's hearing the word of God. And so this is what gets back to, honestly, this is a interpretation into an application, is that we are called to worship and serve. So on a Sunday morning, if you find yourself serving in children's ministry only, but not going and sitting to hear the word of God, I would say that's a big red flag. You've now become Martha and you're more worried about serving, and you're for other people who are sitting and hearing, but the better thing is hearing and listening. So make sure if you only do one of those two things, don't serve, hear. Because that's the one thing that's going to motivate you to go and serve ultimately. And you won't get burnt out in your serving if you're hearing, which is clearly what Martha did. She got burnt out and got angry. Oh, I want these people to help me. And if you've ever run into a person who sort of looks around and wants to know what everybody else is doing with their time and why aren't they helping and why aren't they caring, and they kind of need to be justified to them what the other people are doing, then that reveals a heart issue if they need more worship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have something that popped into my mind when you were talking about that, about, she's serving so others can listen.
Yeah.
I have an anecdote kind of applied to that, but this last children's camping trip we went on, me and Liz Mitchell, we served, did all the cooking, all that stuff. And she and I were talking later, and she made the comment of like, because neither of us have kids.
Right.
So, but she's like, I choose to serve these so that all the other families can have the time to, build that community and everything. And I thought that was just a really good perspective.
Yeah. And when you find joy in that, then that's where your serving is worshipful. Mm-hmm. When you sort of get angry at everybody else sitting and listening, then your service is self-serving.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a great point. Okay, so let's get into some other interpretations. How about this? God entrusts authority and mission to ordinary people. 72. I don't know how well these guys were vetted, but there was 72 of them, and
Jesus picked them, so they must have been vetted decently.
He did call them to himself, And so he is omniscient. So he did probably knew a vetting process of whatever it was, but he empowered them to advance his kingdom through healing and proclamation, which I thought was wild. It makes me think we need to have more healing ministries of some sort. To be fair, whenever we ask people to come up after church for the elders to anoint them with oil to be healed, we always have a full row of people, and it actually takes about 30, 45 minutes to get through everybody, which is kind of exciting.
How does that process, like in your heart, what does that do for you? When you're anointing people with oil,
you're just like, I feel like I get to serve the Lord and be a part of this person's healing. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
cool. Especially because you can't see anything happening right there, but then they come back later and like, hey, it worked. You're like, I didn't feel any power go out from me. All right, how about this? For also nature of man, people erect barriers of prejudice and self-justification, like the lawyer testing Jesus, and in the story, the priest, the Levite, ignoring suffering due to ritual purity concerns. Because we all know that there is a moral law and a ceremonial law, but the ceremonial law was always subservient to the moral law. For example, in the ceremonial law, it said you could sort of break the moral law of not working on Shabbat if your ox fell into a well or into a pit. And the priests broke Shabbat or the Sabbath every week because they were burning sacrifices. They were doing all sorts of work. And so the ceremonial law always bows to the moral law, and that's what people struggle with, is they're so worried about ritual purification they sometimes can neglect people.
It's good.
How about this one for nature of man? Mankind chases superficial power, rejoicing in the demonic subjugation while missing the deeper salvation joy. As the 72 initially focused on the spectacle as opposed to, we're saved, our names are written in heaven. And because maybe that happens to us, we get more excited about what somebody has done as opposed to what Jesus has done for us.
Sure. I mean, my thought when you were reading that is like, why not be happy about both?
Fair enough. But I think the first thing we get more excited about, what's more eye-catching is miracles.
Yeah.
Versus like, my soul was saved. I look exactly the same that I did 5 minutes ago when my soul was not saved. It's hard to see. But miracles, you can see. And that's an outward display of power. Now, maybe if everyone was, one moment they're angry and wicked, and the next moment they're in snotty tears repenting, that might have the same effect.
It's a good point.
All right, how about some truths about the character of God? God entrusts authority and mission to ordinary people. Did I already say that? Yeah, I think I did. But I think that's huge. And he also delights in revealing mysteries to the humble and childlike, hiding them from the self-proclaimed wise people, Jesus actually rejoices that God doesn't save some people.
Scary.
That is kind of wild. It's like these self-righteous. Now, to be fair, you would probably be rejoicing too. Like we all would be like, but it's not like God delights in the death of the wicked. However, it is his delight to these self-righteous people that he wouldn't reveal himself. He'd say like, you know what? You don't get it. You're so into yourself. You are your own God. And it's been revealed to them. They reject it anyway. I really appreciate that God has favor on the humble.
I mean, that was the point of just parables in general, though, right?
Right. And I think it's actually merciful that he speaks in parables, because those who are self-righteous don't get it because they're so self-unaware that they can't see that the parables are about their own soul.
Yep.
And then how about another one? God embodies lavish mercy that crosses divides as Jesus affirms the Samaritan's costly love, okay, and Mary's attentive worship as eternal priorities. Like he's into the Samaritan who gets it, and he's into Mary who's not working, and she's sitting with the men of all things, listening and learning. That's wild.
Is that just culturally not acceptable?
Oh, that was bonkers.
Okay.
Like there's no reason a woman, this is like pre the days of the men hanging out with cigars, telling war stories, and a woman hanging out amongst them. That would be, so take that times a gazillion in a fully patriarchal culture and society where women and men were separate. Here is this woman in amongst this rabbi's students. That's nuts. And so it's one thing for Mary to be on the, in the doorway of the kitchen listening. It's another thing for her to be plopped down right in front with her Bible out, taking it all in as if she's one of the guys. And Jesus says, way to go to her in that moment. It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some spec. Sin to confess, promise to claim, example to follow, command to obey, and knowledge to believe. How about this? Confess anxieties or divisions. The sin to confess would be confess anxieties or divisions that distract from listening, like Martha's resentment. Martha's resentment not only affected Mary, it affected the entire group as she broke in to make sure everyone knew what her anxiety and issues were with Mary. And so it affected the whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of resonate with that to a certain degree. I'm a server by nature, but any service you do can be done with the wrong intent. I've noticed that in myself sometimes. Obviously, you have to self-correct a lot. But yeah, it just always stood out to me on that one specifically of just, if your heart's in the wrong place, your service is garbage, basically.
Yeah, it's true. All right, how about this? An example to follow the Good Samaritan's proactive mercy. Like, I'm going to see someone that's in need. I'm not going to wait for someone to say, you really should. I'm just going to go take care of that guy. And that provide beyond what would be even like taking him to and in as one thing, providing for his, healing is another thing. But then anything else he needs, that's crazy. That's over and above lavish love.
Well, so the 2 denarii or whatever, however you pronounce that, is that a lot of money?
I mean, it was like a day's wage. So what you could live on for one day. And so he's thinking this guy's going to be bandaged up in a couple days and he's going to come back to check. And if he needs more, he'll pay more. But he has like 2 days wages on him, gives him the money, probably can go get some. I mean, it's not like you're carrying, a day's wage with you everywhere. But he's going to go and get more money to provide more for him.
Is that amount of money kind of the same for Jews and Samaritans, or were Samaritans like kind of made less money?
No. They're probably at the same economic status.
Gotcha.
It's just the social distinction was so great because it's more of like O-U-U-T. And we don't go to Oklahoma because we hate Oklahoma. And we don't ever go, we will drive all the way through Louisiana up to Arkansas and then over to Missouri just to not go through Oklahoma. That if we had that deep a disdain.
Wow. Never heard that. That's pretty crazy.
Right. And you're like, but they're just, they're not. They're basically, but the thing was, they were syncretists and that offended them to such a degree, they would just consider them not really Jews. All those Samaritans like, hey, we're on the team. We love God. We love, the prophets and a lot of other people too.
Gotcha. Yep.
How about the command to obey? This might fall with the Good Samaritan. Go and do likewise, showing neighborly love. The question then, as this comes up, is there anyone in your life that you could show that neighborly love to that might need you to treat them with a heart of the Good Samaritan?
I mean, absolutely. And if you answer no to that question, then you're self-deceived.
All right. I love it. Any other from the specs? Sin to confess, promise to claim, example to follow, command to obey, or knowledge to believe that you want to share with everyone?
Example to follow just is Mary. That's her name. The one sitting at Jesus' feet. I don't necessarily do the best job of that. I can get preoccupied in service and kind of prioritize that over personal time with God. So
I love it.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah. Sit at Jesus' feet today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on A Chapter a Day.